What a day. Welcome, Bucks fans, to another edition of the Power Parlay podcast here in the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen, and we're going to get into the good, which not much, the bad, which a lot, and the ugly, which, let's face it, there's a lot of it. We'll get into all that here on this latest episode after the Buccaneers fall to the Denver Broncos 26-7 at home at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. Not a good look, not a good game, not a good effort by either side of the ball. All three phases, matter of fact. We'll get into all that and more right after the break when we come back.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
This podcast is going to be sick. Watching that Bucs game is going to make you sick. Just not a good showing from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their 26-7 loss to the Denver Broncos. Coming into this game, you guys know I had really high hopes. You look statistically, you looked at the team, you looked at the talent, and there just didn't seem to be a lot going on for the Denver Broncos. Somehow they come in here and they find a way to win, and they got up to a hot start. They were clicking on all cylinders. They came out fast, they came out quick, and they moved the ball down the field almost effortlessly to get into scoring position. It was it was a terrible display on all three facets of the game, and coaching. Sean Payton has this team's number. For whatever reason, the Bucs just struggled going against him in their last 7 games against Sean Payton since Todd Bowles came to Tampa in 2019. Get this, 7-0 record. Payton's offenses average 29.7 points per game. 6 of the 7 games have gone for 26 plus points, and 5 of 7 have gone for 31 plus points. And he's beaten Bowles with 4 different quarterbacks: Breeze, Winston, Taysom, and Nix. Obviously, this does not count the Super Bowl run, that playoff performance, but just not good stuff from Todd Bowles when he's going up against Sean Payton. Doesn't matter what team he's on, doesn't matter what team he's with. They seem to have his number. He finally got that Jared Goff monkey off his back last week, but just can't do it with Sean Payton. Looking at these numbers, if you looked at them and flipped them around, you might be surprised. But Bo Nix, 25 of 36, 216 yards, passer rating of an 85. Batty, their running back, practice squad guy, ran for 70 yards, 43 of a long. Nix ran all over them, 47 yards and a touchdown, easy walk-in touchdown. They were just getting killed by those bootlegs. Cortland Sutton had himself a game, 7 receptions on 11 targets for 68 yards. I will say one thing the Bucs defense didn't do, though, was allow a passing touchdown for their 4th straight game. That goes all the way back to last year. In the regular season, they have yet to allow a passing touchdown throughout the first 3 weeks of the game. So, I mean, that's all right. I would say Dean got kind of a little bit of abused by Cortland Sutton there. Big chunk of Bo Nix yards, 83 of them came from receivers near Jamel Dean's area. But I thought Zion McCollum, kind of a bright spot here. I think, he got beat early on by Josh Reynolds on that 31-yard catch and run, but then settled in nicely. Same thing with Tyke Smith. I thought he had a good game, kind of taking over that slot role with Josh Reynolds. Didn't really let up much, but just not a good game overall. Offense was slow. Defense was slow. They couldn't protect Baker. They couldn't get pressure on Nix. It was just not a good game for this Bucs team. I talked to some of the guys in the locker room, and he's like, they were pissed off. Pissed off all week. They're 0-2. They're pissed off. So where was the Bucs? Why weren't the Bucs pissed off? Why didn't, after that first drive, why didn't they say, what are we doing? We got to get together. It was not good. It was just not a good performance by the Buccaneers. So they got to go back to the drawing board and they got to figure it out because there's a rough stretch coming down the road. This was supposed to be like, you look at this season, you're like, okay, they got wins against Washington. They got wins against Denver. Detroit will be a tough game. And then from then on out to the bye week, it's murderer's row of opponents. And we'll get into those in a little bit here. But let's focus on this game. I want to shout out everyone that's tuning in, whether you're on Twitter or YouTube. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you like, hit subscribe, turn the notifications on. We got Christopher Cole in the building, says this loss is on the coaches. I couldn't agree more. But the players still got to execute. You know what's coming, and you've got to get your guys ready to play. That's the thing. It didn't seem like there were many in-season, in-game adjustments on the defensive side of the ball. On offense, spamming first down runs brought me Byron Leftwich flashbacks and Dave Canales flashbacks of last year. Especially Rashad White, love the guy, but he's having a difficult time moving the chains on first down. 6 attempts for 17 yards and a 2.8 yard per carry average. Not doing it. The lack of urgency, not getting into hurry up. Kind of Bowles was asked about that. I said, when we can't protect, it's hard to go into hurry up, and I get that, but at the same time, it just felt like there was no sense of urgency. You're down 2 scores, and then now you're down 3 scores. For a minute there, they were down 20-7, and you score 2 quick touchdowns, and boom, you're in the lead. But it was just no sense of urgency. I feel like they missed some opportunities. I feel like they were scared to test Patrick Surtain. One of my keys to cannon fire this week was don't be afraid to take your shots. And they weren't able to get anything going. They looked like they made the Broncos defensive interior look like, a bunch of Pro Bowl players, and an offensive line looked like the all-pro team. It was just a lack of adjustments. And I know the Bucs are missing players, right? They're missing a bunch of players. They're banged up, some players who did play aren't healthy. And we're week 3. You're down 3 starters. A couple others are banged up. You're relying on a bunch of young guys who are going to make mistakes as they get their feet wet in the NFL. But you got to be ready for that. And you got to be ready to make adjustments. And you got to be ready to pull the plug and say, all right, we got to get somebody else out there. You've got a deep enough, talented enough team. You've got to know when to make adjustments and say, you're not getting it done. We need somebody else to step in and give us something, especially when you're getting beaten that bad. So that's on the coaches, lack of adjustments on the coaches. Players got to execute. Coaches can call the greatest play in the world, 100% guarantee rate if the players execute it. If the players don't execute it, well, coaches can't do anything about it. So, yeah, I agree, Christopher Cole. Losses on the coaches for sure, but definitely on the players in execution. Sal says Hall, Mock, Dean, JTS all can go. Hall had a fumble recovery, and he wasn't – and I don't think he was as terrible as you're making him out to be. Mock definitely struggled for the 3rd week in a row. Struggled to get push in the run game, struggled against some of the interior defenders. One of those sacks was completely on Moak. Dean, I felt like struggled as well. Cortland Sutton is not a slouch as a receiver, though. 6'4", 216. He's got his own set of physical skill sets. But, yeah, they were playing a lot of press man, and that's Dean's bread and butter. He's supposed to thrive on that. And he didn't. He got beat multiple times. Then they switched into a zone, kind of that bend but don't break, give them the cushion, make them find it, and it didn't work. It just didn't work for them. And there was the adjustments didn't happen until they scored again. And then you're like, well, now what's the point? Make these adjustments on the drive. Let these guys know, communicate with them. Communication was bad through the back end too. Just kind of guys being out of position. You said JTS as well. I thought JTS had some good pressures again, but the story with JTS is pressure is not finishing. There right in the end zone there, he had an opportunity for a strip sack, but would have turned the tide of the game. Gave the Bucs some momentum. Just a half a second late. Went for the arm instead of the elbow, and boom. They convert on 3rd down there to a big big play to Lil Jordan Humphrey. And now they've got some wiggle room, some life, and they march down the end zone, down the field and score. Not good. Giovanni Zuzio says, watching the game was not great. Sean Payton hurts my feelings. Yeah, Sean Payton, he's got a punchable face. Nobody likes him. Sal says, disgusting and piss poor across the board. Lewis says, why is Dino was 15 yards off the ball, and why is Camarda still in the team? Camarda is another thing. A 33-yard shank. My God. Like, that was awful. And then the first punt he had that was actually good, went for 65 yards, 64 yards. And the special teams coverage unit just let the guy go for like 20 yards on the run. Like, you can't do that. You know, you can't. You got a guy who's struggling, and he makes a good punt, and now you just make him look bad. We had another one that was pretty bad as well. Got a good bounce, rolled down to the 7. But, I mean, that was like a line drive, you know, no air on that at all. They've got a guy on the practice squad, Seth Vernon, and I think they gave Camarda maybe one more game to turn it around. If not, they might have to see what this kid can do. Use one of their elevations and say, hey, we're going to see what this guy can do. Speaking of Camarda, one of the things kind of unsung stories here in the game too is their long snapper. Evan Deckers went down with a hamstring injury. So they're down their long snapper. They didn't get into scoring position again. So, you know, it would be interesting to see who'd be that guy holding for them. But we'll see what happens there. They might have to bring Zach China back. We'll see. And Dean, you know, that's zone coverage, you know, when he's not playing press man, he's playing zone coverage. I used to get mad about the same thing with, who was he? Nate Ellis, or Ellis Hobbs rather, on the Pats. My God, just played 15 yards off the ball, try to rely on his speed. It wasn't good. Supply and demand says on the bright side, this is a good loss, keeps us on our toes for all teams. There's a lot to learn from a loss like this. That's for sure. And it came to a non-conference, you know, rival or non-rival really, but non-conference opponent, AFC. So, you know, it's down the line of list for tiebreakers. So, I mean, that's a good point as well. The rookie QB curse strikes again. They've actually beat that curse. That's the problem. You know, they were 11-5 or something like that against rookies. And 12-5, I think, after the Jaden Nix, but now with Jaden Daniels, but sheesh. Yeah, I think it's more Sean Payton put him in a good spot. The B-Dog says treated a week 2 game like the Super Bowl and then allowed an awful team to destroy them. Inexcusable. Yeah, you know, again, there's no words to say that. The Bucs came out flat. Every facet of the game, flat. The defense, after the defense came out, I literally I tweeted out on X. I said, first thoughts on the defense first drive, not good. Thoughts on the offense first drive, not good. Flat. Just no energy, no oomph behind anything. And that showed. And you know, Denver came out to play. Denver had nothing to lose. We're up against a team that's supposed to beat us big. Where, you know, 6.5 point, 7-point underdogs in Tampa in the heat. We've lost our 2 games close, nothing to lose, and they played like that and they won, and the Bucs lost. Sal says the fumble fell in his lap. Always in my eye, and Dean was getting killed. Dean was getting torched. Yeah. I mentioned. I think it was like 11 targets, 8 for 83 that he let up, something like that. 7 of what do I got here? 7 of 68 went to Cortland Sutton. Just a tough game. Whitehead was quiet, poor tackling, no sense of urgency. I agree. The punter is struggling. Sal says Dean plays too far off the ball too often. Why brag on being the fastest on the team if you can't press man more often? That's the funny thing with Dean is that Dean was actually graded out 2 years ago as the best press man coverage cornerback in the league. You know, and again, that's coaching too. You know, Dean's not out there playing, oh, let me just play 15 yards off. You know, that's for them putting him in zone in different situations. So that goes back to Christopher Cole at the beginning saying the losses on the coaches, not making adjustments. If you know, Bo Nix isn't going to be able to take these deep shots and beat you deep. A lot of it's going to be kind of underneath stuff. And you know, for Bo Nix, he only had one pass go for longer than 30 yards. That was to Josh Reynolds. His other explosive was to Sutton for 22, but that was a catch and run. You got to make those adjustments. So, you know, the Bucs will learn from this. They're going to have to watch the tape tomorrow. And then they have to move on quick because, like I said, they got the Eagles coming to town. And the Eagles are out for blood. You know, they embarrassed them last year, and they've got a very, very good, strong cast around them with AJ Brown. I know Devontae Smith is out, but Saquon Barkley, Lane Johnson just went out today, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. I wasn't able to see if he returned to the game, but they've got a good offensive line. They've got a defense full of playmakers. You know, the Bucs, again, they're going to have to take these shots. They're not going to not be afraid to take these shots on some of these cornerbacks, you know, Darius Slay and some of the young guys that they brought in, Quinyon Mitchell and such. So, you know, they have the opportunity to bounce back, but everyone's got to be dialed in. Everyone's got to be focused. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. You know, Baker said they had a good week of practice. They were prepared well. They just, you know, as we said, just came out flat. They got to learn their lesson and go from there. You know, said it was a good lesson for the team. You know, you have to prepare like you're playing a playoff game every week, or else this can happen. And I talked to the guys, and like I said, you know, they said this Denver Broncos team was pissed off, 0-2, pissed off all week, hearing about how they're going to get smashed. And you know, I asked if there was a complacency maybe, or kind of just like maybe overlook this team because of what they did in week 2 and kind of, you know, beating the Detroit and you know, they kind of hear things too, but so there wasn't a complacency. They just didn't start fast enough. And we're talking about on offense, it's been an ongoing theme. We're 23 straight games in slow starts on offense. They have not scored a touchdown in 23 straight games on their opening drives. 23. That's crazy. Even the worst teams in the league have scored an opening drive touchdown. The Bucs haven't done it since 2022, the final regular season game against the Atlanta Falcons. That's not okay. They've got to get to a better start. They've got to switch it up. You know, they've got to switch it up in the backfield. Irving's got to get more touches. They've got to split it up some way. You know, I still think White can be an effective part of this backfield. But Irving's shown that he can make things happen when things aren't there. You know, today he had 9 attempts, 70 yards, long of 32. And White, 6'17", 2.8 yards per carry. I mean, that's not good. And again, you know, there were some really bad plays for Bucky Irving, running on first down, losses, you know, no gain and stuff like that. I'm not saying that Bucky Irving is all world. And again, he's not someone you can really, I don't know if you can count on a week in, week out basis to be that bell cow back just because of his size. And I don't think you want to get him injured, but again, you got to ride the hot hand. And so far right now, he's the one that's producing as a running back, using his ability to make guys miss. Saw that all in college tape. Seen it all so far here. He had a nice cutback on one of the plays where just boop, boop, makes a jukes a defender out of his cleats and goes to the run. So it's one of those things. Baker Mayfield, not a great day. 25 completions on 33 attempts, 163 yards, touchdown, interception. Just wasn't a good day for him. He a couple of those sacks, sacked 7 times. 7 times he was sacked. A couple of them were on him, and he mentioned that. He said that, you know. Someone asked him about if he misses Luke Gedeke. He said there's a few pressures this week were actually on me. There's somewhere I got to get into some of these tempo drives, 2-minute things. There's a mindset of trying to fix the protections when they're bringing it. Some of these pressures. There's also mindset of snap the ball, get out of your hands. Not all of that is on the O-line. Went on to say that Luke's a hell of a player and they miss him, but you know, some of those aren't him. And you've seen it. You see the Baker sacks. Baker had Baker sack last year. You know, just trying to do too much. Get the ball out, live to see the next drive. But unfortunately, like the next drive wasn't good for the Bucs. No matter what they did, they just could not get anything going. Otten had a quietly decent game until he fumbled. You know, finally he's seen one target in the first 2 weeks. It comes out 7 catches, 47 yards, a couple chain movers, 13-yard gains. And then he fumbles. And then that just disappears. Momentum gone. Broncos bring it right back down the field, kick a field goal. Godwin was Godwin. You know, he's going to do what he does. But he had 2 uncharacteristically drops. It's not like him. 3rd down drops. But still, 6 for 9, 53 yards, and the touchdown. 3 touchdowns. Now he eclipses his last year total of 2. Godwin's been fine. They completely took Evans out. And even there are opportunities for Evans. But again, I went back to this. He's a cannon fire. You got to take the shots. You cannot be afraid to take the shots. And they were scared to take the shots. That and Baker didn't have time. Offensive line was atrocious. Everyone was atrocious. Tristan Wirfs got beat a few times. Cody got beat a few times. Barton got beat. Bredesen got beat. School got beat. Everyone got beat. The refs had some ticky-tacky calls too. The push off on the first drive on the PI. The Graham Barton all start. Guy picked the ball up. He shifted the ball up from the inch line. What? He explained it to me afterwards that they told him that when he picked the ball up, because it was like right here's the touchdown right there. When he picked it up, it went across the white line. The hell is he supposed to do? How do you play that? How do you play that any other way? I don't know. But it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Defense has got to be better. Got to be better on defense. You can get all the pressures you want. And pressures work good when your cornerbacks are playing top tier. And like I said, I thought Zion had a really good game. I thought Tyke had a really good game. But when they're not, and you're letting the guy roll out of the pocket and use his legs, and you got your guys in coverage and they can't turn around and get to him, and he's picking up first downs, that's bad. Levante David had a forced fumble, 8 tackles. Jamel Dean led the team in 13 tackles, but he was targeted a whole bunch, 8 times, and there's 8 of those tackles. JTS had a pass deflection. Zion had a couple pass deflections. As a team, though, just not good. You can't be 3 of 11 on third down, and expect to win. You just can't. 91 yards on the ground. It's not going to get it done. That's what they're averaging this season, 91. They hit their average. Passing yards, again, atrocious. Can't do it. Can't do it and expect to win. But they've got tests coming up. They've got the Eagles next. After that, they've got an away trip to Atlanta. Then they have the Saints away. Then they're back for the Ravens. Then they have the Falcons. Then they're Monday Night Football in Kansas City. Then they have the San Francisco 49ers before their bye week. Like, this is a tough stretch of games. All these teams are playing good football. Bucs have to play even better football. And they cannot come out flat and slow like they did. They do that, they're going to lose. They're going to lose all their games. I thought they'd be 2-1 headed in this game against the Eagles. I have them beating the Eagles. I picked them to beat the Eagles. I thought they would lose to Detroit and beat Denver. So they're right where I expected them to be. But if they wanted to reach that ceiling I had them at, maybe 12 wins, that's off the board now. You can't lose to Denver and expect to upset as many teams as you have down the line. They've got to play better. That's the bottom line. They got to play better. They got to coach better. They need to get some guys back. Hopefully they'll get some guys back this week. I think Vita Vea, who was on the cusp, might be back. I think Luke Gedeke might be back. We'll see about Antoine Winfield Jr. He's missed 2 games. It was figured a 3 to 4 week injury. We're right in week 3. Same thing with Cansey. We'll see if he talked to him after. He said he's getting close. We'll see. Just a freak injury with him. Talked to him Thursday in the locker room before week 1. Fine. Freak injury. So we'll see. We'll see if they can get some reinforcements back. They're going to need them. This Eagles team is and they're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde too, but they've got the talent. And if the Bucs played, the Bucs can't play up to their talent, the Eagles are going to win. But that's going to do it for me. I appreciate everyone popping in. I've got a couple reads I'm going to do, get through my sponsors. I actually spoke to Bucs Cruise today. You guys definitely need to check them out. They've got some guys that are coming down the pipeline. My goodness, that haven't been announced yet that you're going to definitely want to get on this cruise for. March 7th to 10th in 2025. They're going to Bimini, Bahamas and Key West. Some of the guys you do know about, again, on the screen right there: Jordan Whitehead, Brad Johnson, Trey Palmer, Graham Barton, Yaya Diaby, Kalijah Cansey, so Dexter Jackson, so many more players, and some surprise guests coming on. It's going to be freaking awesome. It's just an unforgettable time, guys. Like it's awesome. You can down payment now, have to pay it off by December, but gives you a couple months to make payments on it. But there's so many different things they get going on there. They got the sail away party, trivia contest, bingo, cocktail parties, player panels, water volleyball competition with the Bucs versus Bucs, and then the Bucs versus the Crew, which is awesome. Theme parties. There's so much going on in this action-packed cruise, and also some downtime for you to enjoy the amenities of the boat, and also Key West and Bimini as well when we get there. So definitely check this out. Don't miss your opportunity to celebrate your favorite team with some fans from all around the country, create lasting memories, and meet some of your favorite Bucs players at the same time. So definitely check out Bucs Cruise. Awesome time. Can't wait to go back this year. Went last year. It's going to be a lot of fun. They've got a lot of fun things planned, and a lot of cool surprises in store. So check that out as well. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mosley Heating and Air. When Florida heat hits hard, and it does hit hard today. Trust Mosley Heating and Air to keep you cool and comfortable. Over 25 years of experience, their family-owned business knows what it takes to keep your home's HVAC system running smoothly. Need a repair, a new system, or maintenance plan? They've got you covered. Call Mosley Heating and Air today at 813-230-3742 or visit mosleyheatingandair.com. Mosley Heating and Air, when comfort meets reliability. So check out those two amazing sponsors we have here on Pirate Parlay. We'll be back later in the week. We'll do another preview show, kind of maybe some more dive into this once we have some more numbers, snap count, PFF grades. We'll take a look at this game and kind of see where it all fell apart for the Bucs, other than just the eyeball test and the known statistics right now. And then we'll preview the Eagles. We'll have an Eagles guest come on. Already got that lined up. So I'll bring you some great content there. But that's going to do it for me. I appreciate everybody for tuning in again. Before you go, like, subscribe, smash that speaker request button, share it to a friend, let them know. Anyone watching on Twitter, pop on over to YouTube real quick, hit that link, and come on over and at least subscribe and turn on reminders so you know when we go live every time. But I appreciate everyone sticking around. That's going to do it for the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm JC Allen. You guys know where to follow me. Find me at JC Allen NFL on X. We'll be back next time with another episode of the Pirate Parlay podcast. Peace out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.